Quietly released in mid-2015, the 6th generation iPod Touch surprised everybody and gave a much-needed update to the iPod lineup. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91Tech, and today we're going to be taking a look at the iPod Touch 6th generation. Is it still worth buying in 2018? When it comes to the iPod Touch, it's worth mentioning that I used it for over a year, as I didn't need a phone when it released and I wanted an upgrade over my 5C. I actually bought it 2 weeks after it came out in June of 2015, and I've loved it ever since. However, it's been close to 3 years since it came out, and so it's kind of a tough piece of tech to review. So before I give my opinion on whether or not you should go out and buy it, let's take a look at the basics. First thing you'll notice about the iPod when you pick it up is how light the thing is. It's crazy. It's also extremely thin. It's unbelievable that Apple could fit so much into so little space. It's thinner and lighter than any iPhone ever, and it feels like you're holding air. This isn't always a good thing, but I personally really enjoy using it, and it helps the iPod feel very comfortable to hold even for really long periods of time. Color-wise, we have a ton of options here with space gray, pink, blue, gold, and a red model that you can get from Apple's website. There's some nice variety here, and while I personally don't like these colors as much as the 5th generation ones, they still look really nice, and there's definitely something for everybody. The iPod Touch is equipped with a 4-inch screen that has a resolution of 640 by 1136 and a pixel density of 326 pixels per inch. So thanks to the Retina display, everything will look very clean and very crisp, and while the numbers aren't amazing, it'll be absolutely sufficient for the average user. Of course, the screen is quite small, which isn't going to appeal to everybody. However, what's nice is that it can be used with one hand. But the main takeaway here is definitely that the device is very small. If that isn't really your thing, then you're going to want to take a pass on this iPod. Right below the screen, we have the classic Apple home button. This is, as far as I know, the only Apple product still being sold new with the old style home button, which is actually really cool. But it is also quite inconvenient as you're missing out on Touch ID, so you do need to use a passcode. Camera-wise, the iPod Touch is okay at best, with an 8 megapixel rear sensor and the ability to shoot 1080p at 30 frames per second. I am pretty sure this is essentially just the iPhone 5S camera, so it can take nice shots and good lighting, but it isn't great. The front-facing camera has 1.2 megapixels and 720p video shooting, and that's horrible. If you're somebody who likes to take selfies, I would probably avoid this iPod. It can take them, and if you have good lighting, it won't look that bad, but I mean, I don't know. It's good enough for, say, Snapchat, but if you're somebody who really wants really good selfies, then this isn't the device for you. But I mean, the main camera is good enough to take fairly nice shots. I mean, all in all, the cameras on the iPod Touch 6th generation are mediocre, but if that isn't too much of a concern for you, then no worries. Performance-wise, the iPod is okay, but nothing spectacular, with Apple's A8 chip and a single gigabyte of RAM. It runs iOS 11 without too much difficulty, but it isn't the most pleasant experience in the world, and if you're a power user, you might grow somewhat frustrated. When it comes to apps, it can run any social media and most games, so there isn't too much to worry about there. You might have some slowdown in more intensive 3D games, but from my experience, it seems to be pretty decent. Support-wise, it's hard to say what will happen. I personally do believe the iPod will receive the iOS 12 update, but there aren't any guarantees, as the speeds aren't quite on par with the iPhone 6, which will be the oldest iPhone getting the update. And just to be clear, the reason it's slower than the iPhone 6 is due to the CPU being underclocked in comparison. It's not a huge deal, and when it comes to performance, I'd say it's right about equal with the iPhone 5S, at least in real world use. So yeah, I think it's going to get iOS 12, which will be dropping in September, but you never know. All in all, when it comes to daily use, you're not going to get played too much with the iPod Touch. It works, it does the job, and while it isn't nearly as smooth as something like the iPhone 6S or even the SE, I'd say it's probably good enough for most people. If you're looking for a device solely just to hold all your audio, the iPod Touch is a great idea, as it's easy to use and has multiple size options when it comes to storage. It's also so light and so thin that it slips pretty much anywhere. It'll be in your car just fine, it goes into your pocket without much difficulty, and it's something you could definitely bring around. If you're buying new, Apple sells them with either 32 or 128 gigabytes, and you can also find used 16 or 64 gigabyte options if you'd rather. You're definitely going to want at least 32 gigs, as 16 is just too little space and will fill up very, very quickly. Battery-wise, the iPod Touch 6th generation sucks. It's bad. It's just bad. The battery is pretty small because they need to fit it in this little thing, and it's 1043 milliamp hours. That is not good. It's very bad. My brother uses this iPod now, and he uses it daily. This is what he uses, and he often needs to charge it in the middle of the day. Battery wise, definitely could be better. For music and stuff like that though, it should last you the day pretty easily. It's more when you're playing games or doing a lot of web browsing or video streaming. Also, for some reason, Apple does not let you see the battery percentage in the status bar. I don't understand why, but that is a thing, so I figured I'd let you guys know. So all in all, we have a decent device. It works, it does the job for most people, and I don't know, I actually really like it. But that being said, it's 2018 now. You know, we're 3 years down the road from when this was released, and so is it really still worth buying? It's a tough question. So before we give an answer, let's take a look at pricing. So on apple.com, the base model being 32 gigabytes is only $200, brand new. That's not bad, that's not a ton of money. And if you look on eBay, you can find it for even cheaper, often for like $150 for a used or refurbished model at a decent size. So what is this telling us? Well, I think it's telling us that for that price, that's not a bad device to get. The iPod 6th generation is unique, and what's kind of sad about it is that there's probably not going to be another one. I actually did a full video on this yesterday, but I mean, I could be wrong. I really hope I am, but things aren't looking good for the iPod lineup. So that said, this year is probably the last iPod Touch. Will Apple stop selling it? It wouldn't surprise me if they started phasing it out in June or July or something like that. I could be wrong, again, but this is based on Apple's patterns and kind of just some basic assumptions here. If this is the last iPod, where does that leave you if you're buying it? Well, not really in a terrible place, but not in a good one either. The iPod 6th generation, again, is okay right now in 2018. It's a not bad device, you can definitely live with it, and for the price, it's actually not horrible, especially if you're just wanting it for music or something like that. That being said, it's definitely not that future-proof. In a year from now, it's going to be quite a bit worse on iOS 12, and a year from there, it's going to be completely unsupported. So if you're willing to put up with that, then maybe you could consider an iPod Touch, but if not, I would definitely take it past here and look for a used iPhone, maybe the SE. So overall, I would not recommend buying this iPod Touch, but if you do, you're probably not going to be too mad about it. It's nice. It's a nice device still. The price isn't horrible, but it's not future-proof, and so I would take a pass and maybe consider going up to the iPhone SE or something to that extent. Alright, I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If this video helped you out at all, make sure you leave a like, and comment your thoughts on the iPod Touch down below. Is it worth buying in 2018? Is Apple ever going to make another one? Let me know what you think. Make sure you go follow me on all my social media, linked down below, and without further ado, I'm Joshua91Tech, and I will see you all next time.